Hello everyone, welcome to Life, Love and the Pursuit of Real Estate. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Michael Biviano and I'm very blessed here today to have Nick and TC from Development Ready. Now, for those of you that are real estate agents, this interview is going to be quite interesting because we've sort of had an interview before the interview, haven't we guys? Right? So this interview will be, I hope it has about 3 or 4 different facets. The first one is to show how an amalgamation of ideas can produce an outcome and a service business that filled a void in the industry. The second thing is how you can still work together in cohesion and look at developing your business into other areas or other genres because the market's always changing. The third thing is these guys want to ask me some questions in relation to business growth and a few other things. So TC's looking at me very seriously now, he's frowning. So hopefully they're decent questions and I don't get caught out. But the purpose of this is really, quite frankly, to sell to you real estate agents in the residential and commercial sector, and you're really commercial, aren't you? Commercial industrial type stuff.
Combination.
Yeah.
Combination.
Right.
Yeah.
But to get into that area where guys like me who are in the development game, you guys have become a Bible for me. So it's one of the things I generally, if I check anything on a day, there's 3 things I check on a daily basis. Yours is one of them, right? So Mary's on it. She has a look and Mary will notify me and go, Michael, blah, blah, blah. And my son Christian is on that too. So we are development ready savvy, so to speak, right? Now, but what we do is we cross-reference sales, how long they've been on, is there negotiability in the deal, all those sorts of things that we need to know. So I've found that this vehicle has been great for me, and I think that it has a huge potential for a lot more growth, extended growth. So I hope you guys enjoyed this interview as I've enjoyed the last 45 minutes just talking to you anyway. And I think, TC, you want to start off with a couple of questions?
Mate, I was just going to, maybe it'd be ripe if you give people who are listening an intro into the business.
Absolutely.
I mean, Nick actually started the business and I met Nick probably a year into the journey and I was doing other things, but it's a very interesting story.
Okay, let's go, Nick. Give us a rundown.
Well, Development Ready, very simply, is a listing portal for development sites. So very similar to the mainstream portals, realestate.com or Domain. However, our portal and our listing profile is purely development sites. And our audience are guys like yourself, guys and women and men like yourself, property developers and investors. The idea for the business essentially was conceived just out of pure frustrations, working in the industry. I brought a little development site myself down in the Mornington Peninsula and was going through that painful council process of essentially trying to obtain a permit to develop a site. What I found pretty early on that the time frame that I had essentially forecasted had doubled, and also the money that I'd budgeted doubled as well. So look,
can I just stop you there? Did you get, if you don't mind me interjecting as you go, did you get, when you had a time frame in mind and a budget in mind, did you get advice? Or was it everything was speculative? How did you go about that, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I suppose, look, being my first development, it was quite speculative.
Yeah.
I'd asked some developers and some friends that had worked in the space. But look, the reality was I was 23, 24, pretty hungry to try and do a deal and carve myself out in the development space.
Under-resourced and very green.
Exactly right. And
like us all at one stage. Yeah.
But look, when you've got your own money on the line, you learn really quickly, and that's what I did. So as I was saying, spent more than I wanted to, but it gave me the idea, obviously, for Development Ready. I thought to myself, surely there's got to be an easier way to find other permit-approved development sites in the marketplace. And look, evidently there wasn't. You could find them on the other portals, but you'd have to troll through pages and pages of non-related development property to essentially find what you're looking for.
That's why I gave up.
Absolutely.
I never do any of the searching myself. It was all done by a company that we use or my son. So sorry to interject.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't be bothered. It was just too hard.
Mate, I'd spend hours and hours at night time just trolling through, apartments, townhouses, just to find a development site. And it was obviously really hard to filter essentially what you're looking for. But given those other portals, they're sort of portals for everyone and everything. So there's no speciality. And that's obviously what I was looking for at the time.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the aside from filling that niche, just what I'm going to do is in the interviews I tend to jump back and forward.
Yeah, go for it.
So just you've now got some fairly big wig clients as far as agencies go that are using you.
Yeah.
Are they using any other distribution information type portal other than yourselves?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, we never sort of go in and see our clients, advocate them to drop what they're doing.
Yeah.
We obviously advocate for them to utilise our platform, and the main reason being to make sure that they've covered all corners of the globe to find the potential buyer that they're looking for.
Okay. Then the next question beckons, how many people view your site on a monthly basis? Do you got a number?
We do.
Yeah?
We do.
Do you want to
TC, you're the stats man.
I worked through some stats, but we probably have about 30,000 subscribers across 5 states. So
Right.
we operate in 5 states now: Victoria,
Yep.
New South Wales, Queensland, WA, and SA.
Beautiful.
Across those states, 30,000 subscribed. However, outside of that, we do have an additional 20,000 or 25,000 unique users who float to the platform every month. So they're unique eyeballs who are coming to the platform who are looking for development-related stock. And just for anyone listening who might not be within the space, basically to give them an understanding of what we do. And I think Nick touched on it lightly. We're a listing portal for development sites, similar to the way a consumer would go on to realestate.com.au and look for a home, while developers come onto our website and they look for development sites essentially, and just take it a step further, or a step backwards. Basically, if an individual owns, such as yourself, you own a development site, you're going to commission an agent to sell it. Now, before that agent goes and sells that site, he's going to need 20 or 30 grand, respectively, to be able to market that site, because as you know, you can't sell a secret. And then what an agent will do is he'll take that 20 or 30 grand and he'll distribute that 20 or 30 grand allocated across a range of different marketing mediums, and that's where our website comes into play. We're just one of those marketing mediums. So coming back to the question you asked, Nick, we don't advocate exclusivity. When an agent comes to us and says he's working with limited budget, should he put it all on development ready? The answer invariably is always no, because we don't think that is the strategy. If you were the vendor, we feel as though it would be an injustice to yourself to advocate to an agent to only exclusively list on our website. What you want to do is you want to get as much reach as possible. So if you can be on a competing portal, if you can be on other websites, on a billboard, you want to get as much reach as you can, just so you're not leaving any stone unturned, essentially. So we're really set on trying to build a business that is tech focused, and even the problems we're trying to solve now are all tech related.
Right.
When we look at the future of our business, for example, we've built out a portal within a niche space, which is the development space.
Yep.
It was even more niche when Nick started the business back in 2015.
Yep.
Under the name Permit Ready initially, so it was a platform for.
Oh, that was your Permit Ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it
All
was a website for permitted development sites within the residential sector.
right. Okay.
2 years into the journey, we pushed into New South Wales and Queensland, and in doing so, quickly discovered that agents in those territories don't identify with the name permit, they know it as a DA. But the other thing that was happening was a lot of the large commercial groups who use our portal, guys like CBRE, Savills, Knight Frank, they were actually coming to us and saying, look, we want to get some of our raw assets in front of your audience. We feel as though it's relevant, so we went back and we changed the name from Permit Ready to Development Ready and opened it up to both permitted and DA approved, DA potential development sites. Across all development classes. So initially focused on residential, we opened it up to industrial, commercial, mixed use, so on and so forth. So we've expanded from a niche to something.
That was a really good move, can I tell you?
Slightly broader.
Because what happened is you went biblical overnight.
Yeah.
It completely changed the whole. I can remember when it happened, I went, now I'm looking at a catalogue. It's like reading the Bible.
Totally. And look, our sort of market share dealing with just permanent sites was this, but obviously overnight we opened up the potential to be this.
Yeah.
And it really changed the whole dynamic and the whole game for us. Yeah. But I think, sorry to cut you off, I think initially it was really important for us to hold that niche because it allowed us to essentially carve our way through the market. Because if we went really broad and just at the time focused on all development sites, it would have been too much of a big pie for us to chew and to bite. Yeah. But it allowed us to initially have a niche in the marketplace, establish relationships with agents, build a bit of trust, and obviously add value to them throughout that course of time. And then the next sort of phase was, all right, hi guys, we're now evolving our offering on the back of a lot of feedback we are receiving from the market.
Which is a valid point. I was using that to go into something else, but before I do that, I'll actually ask you a question. Just touching on what Nick said, he said, starting off in a specific niche is very important. Having a specialty, I tend to agree. I think if you, just like Virgin started off in records, or I think they had a magazine first, and then now they just do.
Well, it's no different to Macca's. People go to the McDonald's philosophy. That's all bullshit. McDonald's started with hamburgers. Now they do everything. Mm-hmm. Why? Because your business has to adapt and grow, and what you do, you have to learn what the market wants. Yeah. And sometimes the market doesn't know what it needs or wants until it's provided it.
Sure,
and absolutely. It's no different to the first house I ever sold was at 129 Springvale Road here in Glenwaverley, and I remember Mrs. Ty that bought the place, little Chinese lady, even though her name's Ty, beautiful, beautiful woman she was. Walked in and she hated it. She wanted a 4-bedroom house with a swimming pool and a double garage. Mm-hmm. She bought a 3-bedroom house with a purple kitchen and a carport. And no pool. Right? Now, 10 years later, when I went to go sell the house, guess what?
It's all there.
It's still the same. Still purple kitchen that she hated. Now, what's the lesson? The lesson in that is sometimes people don't know what they want until they see it.
Yeah, sure.
And our job as entrepreneurs, if you want to say that, is to provide what we think they want to see.
100%, yeah. I can't agree more. I think, when we look at the future of our business, coming back to what I was saying before, we're trying to figure out what the future of our business really is. So we own a niche now, which is the development space.
Who does that planning for you? Who? There's 3 of you?
4 of us.
There's 4 of us.
Yeah.
So you do that. So you board meet, you
sort
strategize.
Collective, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How often do you do that?
Not enough, to be honest. But I suppose a lot of the ideas are conceived when we do go out and see our clients, and they sort of fire questions back at us, and we're always strategizing with our clients about a range of things around our business and how they run their business, and are there voids that we're missing that we can help fill to help obviously add more value to the agents. Yeah. So look, we obviously take a lot of feedback in from the market, and then we collaborate together as a team.
Which is coming back to your point, it's very valid. Sometimes we go and see agents, and we're on the road sort of 30 weeks a year, traveling to the other states that we're active in. And, a lot of agencies and a lot of agents have old processes to the way they do things, even the way they collect data.
They're very antiquated.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's frustrating.
Especially commercial agencies, we find they're sort of,
they're dinosaurs,
3 to 5 years behind the residential.
Well, because a lot of them are now in there, like I'm 57, but a lot of them are my genre and older. I've got some of the commercial agents I know are in their 70s and they're still flogging real estate.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not judging that good or bad, but I'm saying it's very hard at that age to be able to keep up with the changes young guys are instilling in us.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I told you that gold Nokia brick story before, but that, not being funny, I'm a little bit slow in my process. Not that I don't like change, I just can't be bothered with it.
Yeah.
But guys like you now, because you're reinventing the wheel now all the time, it is harder to keep up. Mm-hmm. So when my 2 sons who are very IT savvy, when they look at all the work that John does for me on the social media, Jacob talks to me about the algorithm John's using for Instagram. And he's looking at me, he goes, I got you, Pa. I went, yeah, mate, I got no idea what you were talking about. I got no idea what you were talking about. Yeah. So you guys are in that genre. So you have actually a moral and ethical obligation to your clients to teach them.
Yeah.
So not only are you providers of a facility, you actually need to be educators of what your business can provide.
And that's what we find. Like we find a lot of our meetings with clients are not necessarily sales pitches. It's more of an educational process.
Yeah.
It's an educational process with them.
Yeah.
Explaining obviously the benefits and what else is happening in the market and what certain products or certain offerings can help them achieve within their business as well. Yeah. It's very hard. I mean, initially we will go out, we'll pitch and we'll sell. We found the educational, the consulting process worked a lot better.
Nick, on the master class I've just run, I started off saying on that 2 days that all business is a humanitarian enterprise. That's it. And the other thing that we did a video recently, John and I, that John loved. I thought it was okay, but it went really well, better than I thought it would. And that was on the fact that real estate agents have to be educators, not salespeople. And so once you take that sales, used to say you've got to put your salesman's hat on. That's bullshit, right? People need to learn. So therefore, if you learn, or you evolve and you grow.
Yeah.
But if you have a look at your close friendships or your partnerships with your wife or girlfriend or whatever it is, or even your children, if you don't get something out of it of value that connects, where like you two now, the three of us are all present right now. I can tell you a 10 out of 10 here.
Yeah.
Right? In that case, if you don't get people like that, you don't get anything.
Yeah.
Because the money's okay, but this is better.
Yeah.
Because the rest grows from that.
Yeah.
So in that, from my interaction with you guys today, like you guys are on.
Yeah. I think that's a valid point. I used to have a boss that used to say to me all the time, back when I was in sales, he'd say, stop selling and start consulting. Like, people look to you as an authority within the space to tell them what to do. And that's the same with agency clients. Sometimes we go out there and you get young sales guys who work within our business who come back and have an interaction with an agent. They come back to us and report back and say, well, he said X, Y, and Z. And we go back to him and say, it's not your job to take what he says and take it as gospel. It's your job to educate him, because although he might sell, let's just say best case scenario, he sells 100 sites a year. That's great. We say 8,000 sites a year that come through 2,500 agents. So we're going to be the authority on how things should be marketed and what's working and what isn't. And we should take that data and deploy it back to them. They should be taking information from us to tell them what to do, and not the other way around, because we're seeing more activity than they will see in the next 10 years.
100%.
So
I don't know if you know my doctor analogy. My doctor analogy is that you go to the doctor, you pay him $70, he tells you to stick a suppository up your bum, you go home and you do it. Why? Because you've got a certificate on the wall that says that I'm a GP. Right? You do it unequivocally, no question.
Yeah.
So people go and pay you $5,000, $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 to use your facility. They need to listen.
For sure.
And that analogy is a little bit rough and ready. And like sometimes we joke about it at home. And I've used that analogy with my dad, and my dad sort of starts to joke with me about it. But that is the true reality.
Yeah.
If someone's going to pay you money, or an agent's going to come to you and say, listen, I've got a client about to spend 70 or 80 grand on marketing, 20 of it's going to you, what advice can you give me? If they don't ask you that question, they're not doing their job.
Yeah.
Totally. And that's what we want. Like, we want to be challenged by our clients. They'll come to us and say, oh, look, we've got a really difficult site. It's got an old permit. It's in a shitty pocket of wherever it may be. What can we do to really expose the asset?
Yeah.
And that's the challenge we want.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they tick a box and it's the same run of the mill type of listing. We want a challenge. We want
that real estate's dying, Nick, as you know. That's why you guys are doing so well.
Yeah. But if you're having the right interactions with your clients, I think they will start to ask those questions of you if you handle it the right way. And that's whether it's us or whether it's a real estate agent. And again, it works in the same way, in the same sort of fashion. If you're a real estate agent and you're selling a house on behalf of a small family, well, yes, they've sold one house that year, but you've sold 100, and then they come to us. Yes, you sold 100 sites this year, or 100 homes this year, but we have 8,000 per annum coming through our platform. So it's really important to sort of tell them what they should be doing, or relay that information based on what you're getting, what you're seeing.
Do you realise what you're giving them? There's two things you're giving your clients. I don't know if you're aware of it.
Please.
IP and time.
Yes.
And the latter is more important.
Always.
So, and I'll give you an example. When Mary came to work with us, and I wasn't aware of this till the other day, I thought Mary, from my PA beforehand, and Mary's been with me 9 years, so we're tight, as you probably see. We get on like brother and sister. We get on good. She knows me, I know her. We know this business. I did a transition of her previous PA to her for, I thought it was 8 weeks. Well, the masterclass Mary said, no, Michael, you made it 3 months, 12 months, so 12 weeks. I made Mary do a 12-week transition over, but by the time she got running into the 13th week, she wasn't on, she was on, right? That's time, because unless you, and it's like an education process, because what I've found is I've made more money in the prep than the implementation of it. The implementation, I generally have pretty much down pat, but if my prep, which is what you're talking about now, prepping the agent, prepping the client, prepping them why they should pay that, and how I'm going to do it for you, the game changes. So therefore, because the first time you deal with somebody, costs you money. The second time you deal with someone, costs you less. The third time is a bonus. So if you get someone more than twice, you're making money. So therefore, and you're doing a better job for them. So it's a win-win situation. It sounds corny, but that's how it works. But in that, what you're talking about, TC, is that prep time. That's so important to educate the people that use your facility, i.e. agents, what you actually do. And that's why you're 30 weeks a year on the road.
Yeah, for sure. And I think...
and congratulations for understanding that, can I tell you?
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I think that educational process starts from the beginning, from the first interaction. Like, we'll go in and see an agency in the first instance, and we'll tell them what each package, what the inclusions are in each package. You know, at the bottom level, which is $485, to at the top level, which is almost $8,500, and what's included in between. And they might take up, you know, in the first instance, they take up a $485 listing. We'll go back and see them, you know, a fortnight later and say, look, guys, how do you think it went? And they say something like, oh, look, it was good, but we got 15 inquiries from this portal. However, we only got 6 from you guys. So if we had to drop one, it'd probably be development ready at this stage. But it's not until you go through that educational process and you say to them, look, well, how much did you spend on the other portal? And they'll say, oh, well, we spent $3,000, but you spent $485 on development ready. So it's getting them to look at
cost versus benefit.
Cost per inquiry, and really comparing apples for apples as opposed to just looking at the overall ROI.
Well, your target market's different, because what actually happens is when we get, so for instance, my son Christian, we go into development ready, and in the morning we'll have brekkie, and he goes, hey, Pa, blah, blah, blah. He'll read me out the addresses, right? And I go, yep, nah, yep. So he prints them off because I hate looking at the computer.
Yeah.
Right? That's an antiquated thing. Don't throw this at me later. Right? So, and I'll go through the addresses and we'll have a look. Now, the thing is with that is that we understand the benefit of the usability of the site, right? Now, as an extension of that, I don't know enough about the tech world, but when we talk about investment ready and all that other stuff that we say, there are a lot of people that need guidance from an IT perspective that still won't go and get information from an agent. Mm-hmm. Now, whether you guys like that or not, I don't know how much of that market it is, but I'm going to hazard a guess and say it's 20% of the market. Because I've got some friends of mine that just go around and have a look, and you know when people say, this guy just turned up and bought it at the day of auction, that's generally bullshit. They've looked at it for weeks. They just won't deal with the agent.
Yeah.
Totally.
Sort of how it works.
Yeah.
Right? So we can kid ourselves and go, oh, we're really lucky we got a guy on today. Rubbish. Because no one goes and spends $3 or $4 million or $1 million and hasn't had a look at it.
Yeah.
They just don't want that interaction. Now, when people have said to me, and I'm getting to the point, but when people have said to me, I've sold my house on the internet and the buyer's not seen my house, I used to think that was bullshit. I came back from Chicago 6 months ago. It's not bullshit. 80% of the real estate that's sold there recently got sold over the internet, no inspection.
In Chicago?
Yeah.
Wow.
Drive-bys, yes. Internals, no.
Wow.
What's that tell you? Whole game's changing.
Changing.
Because and this is what Christian's taught me. My oldest son has taught me the fact he's got an apparel label called C&B Apparel. There's a flog, right? But he said to me, he goes, Dad, the interaction of this is very important, like you say. But he goes, the necessity for some to have this is dropping.
Yeah.
And people like the distance because they like the obscurity and the ambiguity of not being known or pursued or followed up or hassled or whatever. Yeah. So therefore there's a whole genre of that. And that's, and to be frank, to thank my wife, to have intelligent children is a great thing because this is the banter we have.
Yeah.
Because they educate me to say, Pa, what you're saying is okay, and we think you're a good salesman, but there is a percentage of people that won't want to deal with a Michael Biviano.
Yeah.
They just won't have a bar of me.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, I just throw that out for you, I can see your mind ticking over.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. If you had asked me, I would have not gone in that direction. I would have said, no, that's not the case. Not at that level anyway. From the consumer spending perspective, I wouldn't have thought people would spend anywhere from $300,000 to $600,000 without inspecting a property. I understand how people like to get their movies.
Oh, yeah, so the interaction has dropped off now, but there are, and Christian took a while to educate me to the fact that some people just don't want interaction. Now, do I find that figure hard to believe, TC? Yes, I do, but not one agent told me that. 6 different companies I spoke to
Yes.
told me a very similar story. Percentages altered a little bit, but it was all between 10 to 20.
Yes.
Right? Now, some of it in the US is different because it's a safety issue as well. There's a whole range of other things with that. So they can't send a woman out to inspect a house without a man. There's a whole range of different things that we don't suffer so much here.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore the demographic of the purchasing population dictates the necessity of using that type of business model.
Yeah,
right?
Sure. But there'd be an element of technology in play there. I think, as TC said, you wouldn't potentially go and spend $600,000 without actually seeing the inside.
I understand the I understand the consumer behaviour because you see it at a lower level with companies like Netflix who have taken off and companies like Video Easy who have closed down. People don't want to go to a movie store and actually hire a movie and speak to the person at the counter. But I love the experience of going to a movie store and getting a pizza beforehand and interacting with people to do these two things. I understand at the lower level how people don't want to do those things because they want it quicker and they want things fast. But I didn't think it would happen at a higher level when people are spending, and like I said, $300,000 to $600,000.
Okay,
and not having an interaction in between.
Let's investigate this. Dr. Fred, my personal development coach, going back about 2 years ago, said to me, Michael, within 15 years, 75% of the businesses that are currently in play will be defunct, non-existent or broke. They won't be in existence.
Yeah.
And I said to him, well, I don't know about that. And he goes, 50 years ago, the same thing happened. So he quoted a lot of businesses that existed 50 years ago that don't exist today.
And over what time frame?
Over 50 years, that was.
Yeah.
But
what was his
moved
stat was 75% of business over what time frame?
over the next 15 years.
15 years.
Now, that's not just based on what Fred said. This is
Yeah.
based on everything he's read from people that are in the know.
Yeah.
You know, industrialists, entrepreneurs. Now, before you go further with the question, let me say this to you. If you think about two things like Google Doctor and Google Lawyer,
Yeah.
and think about how that's eroded the GP market, and there's more broke GPs than ever before,
For sure.
and more broke lawyers, it stands to reason that there is some logic to that statement.
Yeah. And what I'll say, and I wanted to touch on it before, I don't think you probably know the accuracy of that statement because actually we've got a desk downstairs in the office. I often go downstairs. It's in the basement, basically. We call it what do we call it? Stratton Oakmont, because it looks like the office of Wall Street.
Yeah.
So I go down there, and on the desk there was an old BRW magazine from 2009.
Right.
It was Fast Starters, 2009. Fastest growing companies in Australia.
Yep.
And there was about 100 of them. It just showed the top
80%
100.
gone.
75% are gone. I went through and I rang every single company in that magazine. I rang 100 of them. And 75% are gone. Only 25% of them are still in business, which I found interesting that you raised that. Because it's actually very accurate.
Because before we spoke, before this interview, we spoke about the reinventing. And then Nick said to me, "What, have you been listening to our meetings, have you?" It's not. And do you know what I realised? If you actually give a shit about somebody else, even if we don't know each other, but you give a shit about someone else, you will care for that business, and you'll go, "I wonder what else they can do to do this."
Yeah.
So, and my son last night, God bless him, and I've mentioned this about 4 times, but I used to sit in the cafeteria with my father, right? And we used to go to Victoria Market. And we'd sit in the cafeteria at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and my dad would go to me, "There's 6 people sitting behind the counter. It's got to pay them about $4.50 an hour. Blah, blah, blah." This is when I was 14, right? So my dad would work out what the wages were, how many people were in there, what the turnover was. That's how I was brought up.
Yeah.
I'm brought up in that genre of going, don't just look at what you see, look at what actually is happening.
Yeah.
Right? So, and it's no different, and I use this analogy all the time, so forgive me for those of you that hear me a lot. You go and buy coffee from the same place every day. Do you know how many people don't know the name of the person that gives them the gift of making them a cup of coffee in the morning? It's got me beat.
Yeah.
So therefore, what I've learned is once you start giving a shit, not only will you be happier, but you'll most likely be wealthier. If I said to you that I have 3 mates that are in the wholesale car industry, they purchased nearly 50% of their cars without seeing the purchase. Would you believe me?
Yep.
TC's going to struggle with this.
I'm gonna say no, because I'm not sure.
I can tell you different.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I've got 3. I've got one who's selling probably 1,000 cars a month. 500 of them he doesn't see.
And no one sees it.
They transact. They just keep moving.
Wow.
Now, they are lower unit value, so therefore we're talking cars sub 20, sub 25.
Okay, yeah.
Right? Does
It's
it make
still
it
mind-blowing. It's still big sum.
Yes.
To some degree.
So what's that tell you? Because what happens is that you cannot look. The industries that I reckon govern where we're at is cars, houses, and general retail spending.
Yeah.
Retail spending will dictate how much money you guys and I make next year. Mm-hmm. Are you aware of that?
No.
I'll tell you in a round form how I think that works. The retail spending dollar is very much, very, very heavily viewed by the RBA and the banks. They look at that and they go, how much consumer spending is in play? So they had Black Friday and whatever that other thing was that they had the other day. And then you see the Prime Minister get on and talk about, we want to pump up consumer spending and all that sort of stuff. So if the housing industry drops, what do people do? They panic. Mm-hmm. If retail industry drops, people are slower to panic. But what we're finding is that when the retail industry slows up, the housing industry slows up soon after.
Yeah.
And how it works is this, I think, right, is that when people, because a lot of retail spending is discretionary money, when discretionary spending stops, what's the next most important thing other than food that you pay?
Yeah,
your house.
Your mortgage, yeah.
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 And that's how it works.
Yeah, when you hear it like that, it makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
People will obviously stop spending at the shop, at the shops or at the shopping centre.
That's right.
And start buying things from retailers.
Yeah. So therefore the game changes. And it's interesting because when you go and have a look at Gucci or Louis Vuitton, Ralph Lauren, all those sort of things, all those brands, you can go to those places and maybe even today at Louis at Chadstone, there is a queue of people waiting to get in. They'll predominantly be Asian, right? Because at the moment, we are getting what I call offspring money. We're getting money from parents where the kids are affluent because the parents have done very well and they're still spending. But generally speaking, a middle-class family would not necessarily shop at Louis on a regular basis. It would be a blessing to shop there, right? But those stores are doing well. So therefore, they've been Prada. I don't know if you know that Prada went into some receivership about a year ago. So they're trying to climb out of receivership. Now, no one thought that would ever happen. Okay, now they've been training for years. But the luxury items have slowed up. But the luxury items are relying on the Asian money. Now, interestingly enough, in the world that you guys live in and I live in, our business has been very much funded by the Asian dollar coming in. That's slowed up. So we're now going to be relying on the Indian dollar, on the Indian rupee, whatever. What is the Indian money called?
Rupee?
Oh, anyway, it could be. I should know that.
We'll find out.
That just shows I'm not that smart. I used to think I was smart.
I'll edit it.
Then I started using it. Now I think I'm really dumb. Right? So on that score, what's eventuated is the nationality shift of or the demographic of our buyer. Because that's changed, what's also happened is the availability of how they buy has changed. Because I can tell you, when you talk about the car traders and the volumes they're doing without sight unseen of car, do you know what that tells me? That tells me that the actual end purchase has changed. So, and that's what I'm finding, is because we're getting an influx of all 200,000 people a year into Melbourne, that demographic shift is changing how we buy and the importance of purchasing. Because to purchasing a product is like Simon Sinek says about the mobile phone. It gives you a buzz. It's like an endorphin hit, right? But people get it with distant reaction. I don't want to contact with you, TC. I'm going to buy something off you. I'm going to buy your bracelet off you for $10, right? But I don't want to meet you. I just want you to stick it in a fucking bag and send it to me.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that was great. I bought it for $10. I got a gift.
Yeah.
That's becoming more and more the case. So therefore, if I said to you, and you may not believe this, but out of the 32 properties that I've bought in my career, there's 2 I've bought I've never been into. I didn't even look at them from the outside. I just knew where they were.
Okay. Yeah.
Only 2.
Yeah.
But it's 2 out of 32 though.
Yeah.
And I'm 57, but I did that a while ago. So if that happened to me then, and this is how I equated in my mind, well, shit, when my son tells me this is happening now, I went, that's feasible.
Yeah, I think behaviour changes. I mean, in your instance, from a developer's perspective, because all you're looking at is where it's located, where the infrastructure is located, how far from the CBD, so on and so forth, and the dynamics within that area.
Government infrastructure spending,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
all that stuff, yeah.
But what you're saying is very interesting to me because I wouldn't have thought it would have gone beyond, from a consumer spending perspective, I wouldn't have thought it went beyond $1,000 that someone would spend without seeing the product or service that they're getting.
Okay. Well, therefore,
I
this
would
is
have
not a
thought so.
criticism. This is that when you base a rate of $1,000, say, on a product, that's purely speculative. It's a guess.
Yes.
It could be 900 or it might be 10,000.
Yeah.
We're sort of just picking a number for the sake of the discussion.
Yeah.
But who's to say that when I bought One Valley Road, I never went into it in Mount Waverley going back 20 years ago. I just, yeah, I'll buy it. Done. It was easy. Now, did I get anything I didn't expect? No, not really, because I've been around the area and that I knew. I spent $400,000 or whatever it was at the time. I bought it. And that brings me back to the next thing, is that if you guys educate the people that you're selling your product to well, and you do it often enough, there's more likelihood that they will buy without seeing the product. I believe.
Yes.
So the more you do it, and the repetition is the mother of skill, the more you sell to your agents and do that, what will happen is their scripted dialogue will be not automatic, but it'll be fluent. And once it's fluent, it's believable. When it's believable, it's sincere. And when it's sincere, you'll get a result.
Yeah.
So if you believe all that, I can tell you that I've got, I'm buying a car for a person I consider my little brother. I've already given the car trader the money. I said, this is what I want. Get the best you can, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm telling you that at the end of this discussion on the buy thing, because I've just done it with my mate Richard, who's going to go buy the car. Now, the reality of that is that, why do I do that? What's happened between him and I?
Yeah.
We've got trust.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's an
trust
element
there,
of trust.
How does that
sure.
trust build? Over many
Over
times
time.
of this dialogue,
Yeah.
discussion,
Yeah.
him educating me educating him knowing that, I'm a good guy, I'll pay the bill.
Yeah.
Me going, could I need a car in a hurry? I put the asset on him, I gave him the money, he said, Richard, I've got 2 weeks, I've got to hurry up.
Yeah.
So I trust. Do you see how that works?
Yeah, that's a very valid point, yeah.
That will happen more often because it's all about this.
Well, when you say things like this, I can relate them back to experiences we have within the business. Like we have clients that we don't see regularly. During the course of the year, we don't see them regularly, but they continue to spend on a regular basis because they spent once, they got results, they spent a second time, they got results, and now when they go out and see vendors and they are marketing a development site, the first thing they say to that vendor is, well, you need to be on development ready, because they can actually vouch for the idea that the past 2 or 3 campaigns that they had on development ready actually achieved good inquiry level or good results. Therefore, they can say it with some fluency, as you said, and some sincerity. And then in turn it turns into results based on what you
I was out in the Northwest on the weekend with a very good mate of mine who's a top real estate agent looking at some land. Now, I went out there actually as a co-agent to have a look at him because he needed some, and I'm not saying because you guys are here, because the first thing I said to the vendor, you need to do, get on development ready.
Yeah.
We punched up the site, I showed him. Now, this is a family of 5 siblings, right? They go, yes, Michael, but, and I said to my mate, but get him, Adrian, let's get him on. We showed him, he goes, good. See, bang, 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 bang. I went back and showed him my site in Sunshine that you did, showed him all that sort of stuff. He goes, oh, like that. I said, this is going to be a really good vehicle for us. Right. And he goes, why? I said, because it's going to take a lot of pressure off me. So when I'm going to help Adrian sell your property, what it's going to do for me is it will take off the pressure of me having to qualify all the hard to qualify people and spend all that time. I'll get to a shorter point quicker. That's what I want.
Yeah.
So that's where your site for me worked. Now, it's funny, and I'm not saying it because you're sitting here. It was the first thing I thought of when I sat there, and I'm talking to these 5 siblings who had no idea about real estate.
Yeah.
And the land they've got is huge. It's 1,000 blocks.
Wow.
Right? And I went, okay. And it was just bang, because of the necessity, You filled a necessity for me,
Yeah.
even though I went through an agent. You filled a necessity for me because I started looking at the viability. Then you got me on board. Now it's my Bible, as I said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you need to see how you can expand it.
Yeah, that's actually something, a valid point you raised, because one of the issues we're facing in our business is how do we educate vendors on what our offering is? Because that's a hard thing for us to do, because, we can go and educate agents, and agents are very, they're very particular in the way they do things, and they follow a process, and if they have a process, they don't break the process. They don't really break down results, right, on a per campaign basis. So they might put together 15 to 20 grand spend per campaign, but they won't vary where that spend is distributed depending on area.
Yep.
Do you know? So they're not looking at results. So they might have 15 to 20 grand and they're marketing a site out in Mooroolbark, for example. They're not looking at where they're putting that spend. They're generally putting the spend in the same place that they would have if it's
they're regimented in their thought process.
Yes.
Yep.
So they're not looking at the demographic of who they're selling to or who they're targeting or where it is.
That's right. So educating the agents is one thing, but to get them out of behaviour that they've taken and that they've been doing for a long time, for better part of, say, 10 years for some agents on average, is difficult. We're probably best placed educating vendors on what our offering is, because they only get to sell their site one time and they want the best result
So how do you do that?
Well, that's hard. That's sort of I was going to ask you.
You won't like the answer I'll give you, though.
That's a hard thing for us to figure out. How do we educate vendors when vendors are hard to find?
Yeah.
You can open your computer and type into Google developers Melbourne and find the top 100 or 200 developers in Victoria. But to find vendors,
do you know what's
locate vendors, very difficult.
Yep, I agree. These are the few of the things that I've learned over the period of time in real estate, but over the period of time in doing all the consultancy work and talking to real estate agents. I found that sometimes I'd go to a real estate agent and I'd say, "You were the top agent for the group last year. How'd you do it?" Guess what the answer is I get?
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I hate that.
Always.
That's like maybe or but.
Yeah.
Right? That means Now, or I'll try. That's another one that I hate. So on that, it's like, you go to your son, "Can you take out the bins?" "I'll try." "I'll go do them now." "All right, no worries." Okay. You'll learn as your kids get older, let me tell you. Right? But so on that score, how do you get that to transpose? Buyer cycles and vendor cycles are very different, and not many think like this. The buyer cycle in Melbourne, I would think, is roughly 6 to 12 weeks. So that means from the time the buyer gets into the market, and I'm talking about just a general resi buyer. I'll talk about the investors later and developers. Right. By the time they get to the market, have a look around, find out what suburb or suburbs they want to look in, price range, find out that a purple kitchen's okay or not okay, all that sort of stuff. 6 to 12 weeks is generally the cycle.
Yes.
So therefore, when an agent says, "How long have you been on the market?" If a buyer says, "I've been on the market for 1 year," you just go, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
God helps, right?
Yes.
Now, but if they're in that cycle, I reckon they're generally pretty hot. Now, with a investor, the investor's different because it's a prudent purchase. Most investors know yield, they know meterage rate, they know rate, all the other stuff that goes with it. They know what height they can get, what density they can get on a site. They've generally done a bit of homework. If you guys haven't provided all that information, they can get it pretty easy anyway, right? So that cycle is dependent on the necessity to fulfill the need. So therefore, it doesn't equate to weeks or a month or a year. It equates to how hard will I look and what's on the market at the time. So there is a bit of sort of good fortune with that. But that good fortune can be propagated to grow quickly if people understand that your portal is a Bible. Right? So when Christian reads out to me in the mornings and we're cooking breakfast, we'll go, and I think the other day you had about 12 new listings on. One of them piqued my interest. I said, we're going to have a look. We'll drive past that today. Now, what have you done? You've made my time on market a lot shorter. Totally. Now, if you can keep doing that, your site's just going to grow and grow and grow. Yeah. So your job, in my opinion, as a humble consultant, is to say, lessen the time on the market of an investor, they're going to use you more.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And the reason I raised the how do we create awareness around vendors is because we've had the most buy-in when a vendor actually advocates to the agent to use Development Ready.
Yeah.
So we can get an agent who
I'm going
calls
to
us
talk
up,
about that now.
right, who says, hey, I've never heard of your business, but I'm dealing with a vendor who said I need to be on your website, and he's willing to put
I've
X
actually
amount
been
of
in a
dollars.
room when that's happened.
Yes.
With somebody else.
Yeah. And that's where we get the most buy-in. So for us, that's one of the questions we want to answer within our business, which is very difficult. It's probably the hardest question to answer within the Development Ready business, but we think it's something that could...
There'll be answers, but the answers will be multifaceted.
Yeah.
Right? So in that, you know what would be interesting? When you go to, Real Commercial and all the other sites, those sites, like Coca-Cola, build brand over time. Mm-hmm. So therefore, repetition is a mother of skill. We know the Coca-Cola can's red, right? We know that the Coca-Cola can with no sugar is red and black. Like, there's just some things you know, and there's some things that you don't know. Even though it tastes like shit, the one without sugar in it, right? You know that it's red and black. Right?
Yeah.
Now, with you guys, it's a case of saying how often, and this would be a good question to ask, how often does the average investor or superannuation owner of superannuation worth more than $1 million buy an asset? That would be an interesting stat to find.
Yeah.
Once you find that stat,
Yeah.
then you go, right, if they're turning over once every 6 years, then we know that the cycle to get everybody is about 6 years.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about that as you were raising something that you said before.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it was, or something slightly related to that.
Yep, yeah. Because I'm going to get back to, I know where you're going, I'm going to get back to that point.
Yeah, because when we send out EDMs, you get drop off. Like if we've got 30,000 subscribers and we're targeting 5,000 of them, and all 5,000 are engaged, and then a month later, 4,500 are engaged, and then a month later, it's 4,500, but it's a different 4,500. There's a reason to that, and that reason is because one individual was in acquisition mode. He bought a property, he's out of acquisition mode, and we're trying to figure out, based on your question, we're also trying to figure out what does that life cycle look like for a developer, and it does vary depending on the size of developer.
So this sounds like a stupid question, because if you've got the answer directly, it means that I haven't checked your website out properly, right? is that when someone's bought, do you have like a sheet where they say, if you're still on the market, would you still like us to send information? Do you do all that sort of stuff? Do you have a screen that follows up a purchase?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So we.
My son's going to kick me for asking you that.
No, we're different to other portals. So other portals work in 30, 60, 90-day increments. If you're an agent and you're listing on Development Ready, it's for the lifetime of that listing.
I did like that, I've got to say.
Yeah.
That sold me. Yeah.
As opposed to working in 30, 60, or 90-day increments.
Yeah.
But because of that, we have to put some certain processes in place. So at the 3 or 4 month mark, we'll get in contact with that agent and figure out what's happened with that property.
Yep.
We'll call them and say, hey, is this property still on the market? If it is, would you like a campaign refresh? If it isn't, can we move it to our sold section?
Yeah.
And if we can get more information out of them as to who the purchaser might be and what it's sold for, then we'll take that information and we'll compile it into some content.
You don't get access to you don't get access to purchase or vendor information?
We ask, but not everyone wants to divulge their information. If they do...
Because you got ours when we listed.
Yeah.
You got ours directly.
Yeah, and we'll compile it into a content piece and put it in our magazine and whatever. So it's still useful information because we'll use it. But in regards to your question, we do have a process that we follow to try to figure out where a property is at within the life cycle.
Because the other thing that may be viable, and I don't know how this will work, but if, say for instance, because Christian and I are in acquisition mode now, and we're looking around, if Development Ready was to have a survey sheet that said, tick these 4 boxes, we'll update you when these things, will flag you as soon as these things come up. You've probably got something like this anyway, and he'll kick me for asking this question.
Yeah.
Right? And do you mind that we contact you as soon as they come up, or would you only like to be contacted at the end of every month? Like you give people a choice, because looking is frustrating.
Yeah.
Right? Now, it's like the other day I finally, I buy quite a bit of wine, but there was one particular one I wanted to buy. So my broker flagged it, and he said to me, he goes, I've now flagged it. No matter where it comes up in Australia, I'll find it. I went, can you do that? Right? So and Christian goes, yeah, Dad, loser, right? So ironically, the next day, guess what happened? It came up, I bought it.
Yeah.
Now I'd been looking for a while for it.
Because you got alerted?
Straight away.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
Brilliant. Now,
speed to market.
but I had to put the information in and the request out of frustration. Now, I'm saying that, say, for instance, if I was in the position to buy, there's a particular type of businesses that my son is looking at now. Now, we've just bought one, but we're on the hunt for 3 or 4 more. He has flagged everybody he knows in Melbourne with this stuff coming up. So they know we're hot, we're buying straight away, we're settling 7 days, we're on.
Yeah, well.
We're on, right? Mm-hmm. So, therefore, he's getting hits all the time now. So he's ringing me, going, Dad, bang, 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 bang. So do you have anything like that you can provide?
Yeah, so touch on a question that you asked earlier as to how many eyeballs we have on our website.
Yeah.
I was saying we've got 30,000 subscribers, 20,000 unique users. To offer a distinction between the two, a subscriber is an individual who comes on and we alert them straight away when someone comes onto our website, whether it's for the first time or otherwise. A pop-up appears that says, would you like to subscribe to the website? Now, when they subscribe, they put in preferences as to which states they're interested in, and then more specifically which suburbs. And then when something in that respective state or suburb comes onto the platform,
so you are dealing with them direct.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
We send an alert saying, "Hey, look at this site in Kensington, Doncaster,
so what happens?
Donvale."
So they contact the agent, then I take it directly. But if you had any for sale by owners, do you do for sale by owners?
We don't.
No, we don't.
So if I came to you and said, "Listen, I've got another Sunshine to sell," you can't list my property.
We wouldn't. No.
Get out. Okay. All right. Well, at least that's honest. But you're looking after your client market. I get it.
That's correct.
I get it.
This is the data that we collect from our audience, and we're able to then obviously sell that on to the agents. And what I mean by that is, if we get an agency that's selling a certain property, it might be Sunshine, we're able to target and segment everyone that has selected to receive property alerts from Sunshine with certain prerequisites. And with that, obviously with that data, we're able to obviously sell it back to the agents and monetize it from that perspective.
I wanted to come back to something you said earlier about who was your mentor or your business coach?
I'll give you a very, very brief history.
Yeah.
Right? I started McEwen's in a hardware store, and I told you my parents sold their fruit businesses and market gardens and all that stuff. So my lineage was sort of cut short a bit, and I went to work for McEwen's, and I had my first 2 mentors were 2 men called David Perry and Kevin Larson. Mm-hmm. David Perry was the St Kilda Football Club president at the time, and Kevin Larson was a high up member of Carlton, and I was a Carlton fan. Those 2 guys in the retail sector taught me more about real estate than anyone else I've ever met, still today.
Wow.
Because they knew how to sell. They were retailers of the old genre. You know, we'd do auction clearances during lunchtime in Burke Street, and on the microphones, and it was great. It was a very marketing atmosphere. Great business model it was. Used to be owned by the Trescothic family, which were racehorse owners from Tassie. Affluent, really nice bunch of people. And it was one of the best jobs I've ever had. I still think very fondly of those days. They were mentors. Then I had another guy who was an Indonesian pastor called Hendra Iskandar, who used to live in Wantirna. And Hendra was always one of those ones who used to grab by the arm and was like, "Okay, Michael, calm down. If it doesn't matter in 5 years, it doesn't matter today." So he'd be one of those. And then I had 2 Jewish mentors. One of them was a guy called Sol Honig, who's now passed on. And Sol had a very, very large import fabric business here in Melbourne. And he was my first big client. And he taught me the strategy of patience. Of not everything is as it seems, and sometimes it is that good you should buy it. He taught me that, which is very different to what we're taught in our Anglo-Saxon culture, right? And then I met Fred, and as my business at Stockdale Lego was growing, and it grew monumentally, like we were growing. You know, they talk about this 10x. I've experienced it, right? And it's hard to manage. So then when I got cocky and arrogant and all that, which you tend to do when you start making a lot of money really quick, I met Fred. And it's now I'm probably in my 26th, 27th year with Fred. His name's Dr. Fred Gross. He's been an archaeologist, an oncologist. He's a rabbi. He was in part of New York, in the Bronx there for a while, and he's also a GP. And he's a psychologist. But he's not just a psychologist. he's probably one of the wisest men I've ever met. And his clarity, that doesn't always mean he's right. It just means he's wise.
Yeah.
So therefore, he'll make you look at things that we'll be talking about a particular subject, and something that's been on my mind will come into play that's got nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's his art. It's a God-given gift.
Yeah.
So therefore, every time I've started a new business, I'll run things by him. We don't always agree, but we understand. And is he always right? No, he's not. Am I always right? No, I'm not. But what happens is, as you get older, you need a brains trust. So when Nick was talking about doing some work together, I get how that works. Because without a brains trust, without someone to go, that's not right or wrong, but this is how I see that, you can't question yourself. Because what we need devil's advocates. Because we start to believe our own bullshit after a while.
Yeah.
Right? And earning money is not your right. It's a privilege. So, my mantra is that, money gives you freedom, freedom gives you choice, and choice, not chance, determines your destiny. If you believe that, you have to understand that earning a buck comes with a great moral and ethical responsibility.
Yeah, for sure.
So, therefore, to keep me in line, that's why I've had mentors all the way along. I've been blessed with that. But Fred has been great for me.
Yeah.
And aside from my parents, who I think are probably two of the best people on the planet,
Yeah.
Fred has just been monumentally beneficial in keeping me in line with me.
Yeah. And like you said, it's probably what you need when you're making a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Egos can sort of stray.
He's got he's got a PhD. He's a fine individual. His surname's spelled Grosse. You'll find him on the web.
Yeah.
John, if you remind me, I'll give these guys some books.
Yep, that'd be good.
I'll give you some books on Fred.
Reader, I like reading. So.
Right. He's got black belt of the
That'd be
mind,
good.
so I'll get you a couple of books as a gift.
Yeah.
I want to thank you very much for coming in.
No,
it's been an
appreciate your
absolute
time.
blessing to see two guys on. Right. So again,
This is good.
Thanks
Michael,
very
thank
much.
you.
Thanks,
Nick,
Michael.
Good on you.
Cheers,
God
mate.
bless both of you, mate. I hope things go really well for you. Stay
Appreciate
great.
that.
And thank you very much for listening, everyone. I hope you guys got as much out of that as I did. For you real estate agents in the marketplace, if you're not using these guys, you're not doing the right thing by your vendors. Get off your ass and use Development Ready. Stay great.